I need you to listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you sounds unbelievable, and honestly, if I hadn't lived through it myself, I wouldn't believe it either. This all started as a normal day, just another quiet moment in my own home, the place I worked hard for, paid for, and thought I understood. I believed the HOA was just annoying. Petty rules, passive-aggressive emails, the usual stuff everyone jokes about. I thought the worst thing they could do was complain about trash cans or grass length. I was wrong, completely wrong. It began with a letter, not an email, not a warning sticker, a real, official-looking letter slipped into my mailbox like it was trying to hide in plain sight. At first glance, it looked routine, but the language was strange, too confident, too final. It wasn't asking me to fix anything. It wasn't a warning. It was a demand. It claimed I was in serious violation of HOA bylaws, and that failure to comply would result in immediate enforcement action. No explanation, no details, just pressure. That was my first red flag. I requested clarification. Days passed. Nothing. Then another letter arrived, harsher than the first, escalating fast. Now they were talking about fines, liens, and loss of rights. That phrase stuck with me. Loss of rights. Rights to what, exactly? My parking spot? My fence? Or something bigger? I went online. I searched HOA forums, legal threads, horror stories. That's when I noticed a pattern. The same phrases, the same timing, the same escalation tactics. It wasn't random. It was systematic. And it wasn't just happening to me. I started paying attention to board meetings, the way certain members spoke, the way questions were avoided, the way documents were summarized instead of shared. Every time someone asked for specifics, the answer was vague, wrapped in legal-sounding language meant to intimidate rather than explain. That's when I realized something was off. This wasn't incompetence, this was intentional. So I did something most people don't do. I read everything. The bylaws, the amendments, the meeting minutes, every line, every footnote. That's when I found the first crack in the story. A clause buried deep in an amendment that almost no homeowner would ever notice. It talked about administrative authority transfers under certain conditions, conditions that the board alone decided had been met. My stomach dropped. I dug deeper. Old records, archived notices, past disputes, and slowly the picture started coming together. The HOA wasn't just enforcing rules, they were positioning themselves, quietly, gradually, using fear, fines, and confusion to push homeowners into compliance or out entirely. Properties that went into dispute were scooped up through legal mechanisms most people didn't even know existed. Not seized dramatically, just absorbed, transferred, reassigned. This wasn't about community standards. This was about control. The more I uncovered, the more resistance I faced. Emails stopped being answered. Conversations became hostile. Suddenly, I was labeled uncooperative, a problem homeowner. They started treating me like I was the issue, not the unanswered questions. And that's when I realized something terrifying. Once you start seeing the truth, you're no longer just a resident, you're a threat. Then came the meeting, the one I'll never forget. I asked one question, just one. I referenced the clause by number. I watched their faces change. The confidence vanished. The smiles froze. Someone tried to interrupt me. Another tried to redirect the discussion. That silence afterward told me everything I needed to know. They didn't expect anyone to actually read the documents. They relied on ignorance, on intimidation, on people being too busy, too tired, too scared to fight back. After that meeting, things escalated fast. Notices, warnings, thinly veiled threats. But now I understood their playbook. And once you understand the rules of a rigged game, you stop playing their way. I contacted professionals, I verified records, I documented everything, and the deeper we went, the uglier it got. Conflicts of interest, questionable transactions, decisions made behind closed doors that directly benefited a select few while harming everyone else. This wasn't an HOA protecting a neighborhood. This was a small group exploiting a system designed to trust them. Here's the scariest part. If I hadn't pushed back, if I had just paid the fines and kept quiet, none of this would have come to light. That's how they win. Silence, compliance, people assuming someone else is watching the watchers. Eventually the tone changed. Suddenly they wanted to resolve things amicably. Suddenly mistakes were acknowledged. Suddenly documents were misinterpreted. But it was too late. The mask was off. The hidden agenda was exposed, not just to me, but to others who started asking questions too. This isn't just my story. This can happen to anyone living under an HOA, and that's why I'm telling you this now. Not to scare you, but to wake you up. Read your documents. Ask uncomfortable questions. Pay attention when authority acts defensive instead of transparent. Because the moment you assume no one would ever abuse a system like this, that's the moment they count on. I uncovered the truth because I refused to be intimidated. And what I found changed the way I look at power, trust, and homeownership forever. If you think this couldn't happen where you live, that's exactly what they want you to believe.